What's going on, YouTube? Ace Poker back again for another video. Rolling through, you guys know, you guys love it, some traffic. Oh yeah, going back to the home game scene, but this video is out on the 14th and I will be in Vegas. I am in Vegas from the 13th to the 19th, so my next video is going to be Vegas. I'm going to be out there for 6 days playing tournaments, cash, getting as much footage as I possibly can. So the next maybe 5, 6, 7 videos will be Vegas, Vegas, Vegas. My first time out there, I'm so excited. Let's get into today's video though, some 2-5 home game action, let's go.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I actually started this recording to just get some B-roll until we look down at Ace-8 of spades. It's the very first hand of the entire night, not only just my first hand, everyone's first hand. The entire table limps around, and for reasons stated on prior vlogs, I decided to check this one here because if somebody has lesser spades than me, and there's 3 spades on the flop or 2 spades on the flop, we could get it in or see a spade on the turn and we could cooler somebody and win a lot of money. Whereas if we were to raise this and somebody were to fold, say 5-8 of spades, 5-9 of spades, even 9-10 of spades, something like that, we won't really get a cooler here. So we're going about 7 ways to a flop in which, boom, we flopped the 3 spades. We flopped the absolute nuts. We are in the small blind first to act. I decide to check. Gets all the way to the button who just bets $15. I could put in a check raise here, but I decide to just put in the call. And we see disaster on the turn, the 4th spade. If somebody flopped a set, 2 pair, or like I said, a lesser flush, they would even just have an 8-high flush or something like that right now. So I decide to check, hoping my opponent will bet, and unfortunately he decides to check back. The river comes a brick. I'm happy that it wasn't the damn 5th spade. And now I decide to go pretty big here and bet $85, and my opponent pretty quickly calls, and after I show him the nut flush, he shows me the queen high flush. Oh my goodness. If that turn was not a spade, we could have won a massive pot on the first hand of the night. Wow, although there's some run good to start the day, there's also run bad that comes with it. I know you guys can understand that, and just wow, what a crazy hand to start off the day, and that's a great way to kick it off. Alright, pipping up a bit here to Ace-Queen suited, just a bit better and a bit prettier than Ace-8 suited. There's a ton of limps to me. You guys know and love this game. Lots and lots of limpers, then they call a raise. I decided to raise this one up to $25, and only the big blind makes the call, so just me and him are going to a beautiful board. My opponent checks, and I think about checking this one back. As I've said prior, when you really smash these boards, it's nice to have some really strong hands in your checking range, so when you check, your opponents don't just think that you're weak and have nothing. They will be scared sometimes for you to have a monster, but I go against that and decide to c-bet here, and my opponent makes the call. We see a pretty gross turn, but you know, can't always just put your opponent on a flush draw. When he checks, I decide to check this one though. I'm going to plan on getting some value on the river until the river is a 4th diamond. What is going on with these boards and these runouts today? My opponent checks. There's really nothing for me to do here besides check. And he grimaces a bit, and I'm like, what does that mean? And he shows 8-5 of diamonds. Oh my goodness. Not only does that 4th diamond save me so much money, but my decision to check the turn saves me so much, because say I bet $50 or $60 or $75 and my opponent decides to check raise, I probably call, and then obviously we lose on the river when it goes check, check. Well, we were losing on the turn, but you know, the river goes check, check. 2 crazy hands to start off the session, and just wow, strap in because this session gets even crazier. We then watch a bit of craziness that does not involve us as a player opens, another player 3-bets, another player 4-bets, and then this other player to my left 5-bet jams and the other player calls it off. The board runs out like this, you see it on the screen, and the player to my left who 5-bet jammed shows pocket kings, but get a load of this, the other player claimed to have aces. So wow, this deck is super cold to start the day. A lot of coolers. Hopefully we can get on the right side of them moving forward, and let's get into the next hand. Yes, a bit loose. You guys are seeing that, right? Queen 7 suited. We're trying to get in on the action. We raise it up to $20 and get 3 callers, so we're looking to smash a board, and oh my goodness, we flop trips on a board that is just wow, amazing. We don't have an ace in my hand. It's very likely somebody else has the ace. Let's get paid here. It checks to us, and just like I said in the first hand and in the second hand, sometimes you want to have some very, very, very strong hands in your checking range, But I decided to do something very different. I bet 1/4 pot here for $25 and pick up 2 callers. So I'm praying for a clean turn. That's exactly what we get. Not only is it a clean turn, it's one of the best turns because say somebody even just had ace-6, ace-7, ace-8, the king now becomes their kicker and they are loving that card just as much as I am. Checks to me, and now I decide to bet $60 and only the button makes the call. So we're pretty much just looking to see no ace on the river, no king on the river, and no diamond, and that's exactly what we get. The bricks of all bricks, the lovely 2 right there when you need it. Now, what would I do if I had a missed diamond flush draw, such as queen 10 of diamonds, queen jack of diamonds that became a massive draw on the turn? I would bet huge. And that's exactly what I decided to do here. I go massive. I bet $210. There's basically no way an ace is going to fold here. My opponent thinks it over for a long time, flicks in the call, and shows ace king. Wow. I said that turn was great, but wow, holy, that was one of the best turns in the deck. We get paid. My opponent was not expecting a 7, and that's what I was trying to accomplish. I definitely open my ranges and play hands that, you might not always think that I'm playing, and that's my advantage. Huge hand for us, and we're on to the next. Strap in and get ready for yet another crazy hand. We pick up pocket aces, the beautiful pocket rockets. There's an open to $15, and I decided to 3-bet it up to $60, and before I can even click record, the player to my left, a very loose player, decides to cold call the 60, and immediately we are in for a good one because this player does a lot of crazy things, calls down light. We can get into one here. The initial raiser decides to fold, so just me and him are going to a board in which, yet again, we smash. We absolutely smash this one. And like I've been saying, nice to have some checks, nice to have some small bets here. I decided to check for the biggest reason being, what hands are my opponents going to have here? Probably pocket 10s, pocket 9s, pocket jacks, some suited connectors, something that is just going to literally hate this board. So I check, and now my opponent checks back. We see a great turn. We're only losing if my opponent has a 5. What 5s is he going to be cold calling? I don't even see how he could be cold calling $60 with pocket 5s. So I decided to do something very interesting. There's not even a flush draw out there. I bet $20. Yes, $20 into a pot of about $150. And it seems to have worked as my opponent raises to $100. Like I said, I don't see how my opponent has a 5 here. Yes, a 5 would beat us, but you have to think it's a 3-bet pot. He just cold called me. How can he ever have a 5 here? So I'm not even in the slightest worry as I just make the call. And if you guys could picture one of the worst river cards ever, what would it be? A 5. Yeah, there's a straight on the board. I literally want to throw up all over the felt. I am disgusted. I check. My opponent snap checks it back and shows king 10 of hearts. Just as I assumed, he was going crazy. If the board just bricks on the river and I check it to him, he might go crazy with a $200 or $300 bet and we would snap it off. I am just so pissed off. Literally, after the recording ended, I was like, oh, great, just lost $70 to rake. I know you guys would find that funny who always comment like, wow, how much is the dealer taking out of the pot? Yeah, this home game is pretty crazy with the rake. So pissed off, such a disgusting hand. We had it perfectly set up. We played it perfectly to where my opponent would go crazy, and the deck just smacks us in the face. So this is a rough one, and we're on to the next. All right, well, if aces can't win, let's try my favorite hand. Yeah, you guys know just how much I love ace king. There's a straddle to $10 and 2 callers, so I bump it up to $50. The cutoff cold calls $50, and the first limper also calls $50. So we're going 3 ways to a board in which I smash. Yeah, you guys know I always connect with ace king. Yeah, no. 7-6-6, the first limper checks. I check. I want literally nothing to do with this board, and the cutoff checks back. What does everybody have here? The turn 4 of clubs brings in a club flush draw. The first limper checks. I check again. I am still just as done with this hand on the turn as I was on the flop. And the cutoff checks again. Is ace king good here? Now the river comes in ace. Wow, look at that. We finally hit. And the first limper, but let me give you some preface to the first limper. He is the definition of old man coffee nit. He's always complaining, always saying, oh, I folded this, I would have beat this. Never bets unless he has it. And he leads out here for $60. And you guys are going to call me crazy. I was literally going to fold this hand. But on the off chance he had ace queen or ace jack, I couldn't throw it away. I flick in the $60, and now it's on to the cutoff who starts thinking, and I'm like, oh my goodness. If I'm not going to beat this guy, now this guy's thinking, like, do I lose to both of these players? Like, what the heck? After some time, the cutoff also puts in the $60, and the absolute nit rolls over pocket sevens, and he's like, oh yeah, I knew you had the ace, I was waiting. And I was like, dude, shut up. I'm not hearing it, I'm not listening to it. So yeah, even when we hit with ace king, we still get crushed. So yeah, that's the story of my favorite hand. Alright, well, if aces can't win, if ace king can't win, I guess we'll just have to settle for pocket queens. Pretty good hand. There's an open to $30, and I decide to 3-bet this one up to 90. Gets back to the initial raiser who hems and haws, and decides to flick in the call. So we're looking for a good board, but I mean, we can't even win on good boards, so what do we want to see? I don't even really know. The board comes 5, 6, 8 with 3 clubs. I do remember that I have the queen of clubs here, so no need to check or guess. My opponent checks it to me, and I decide to c-bet here for $85, and he pretty quickly folds, so that's pretty disgusting. And the loose player from the ace 2, 3, 4, 5 hand leans over and tells me he folded pocket tens with the 10 of clubs. I don't know how he folded to my 3-bet. Am I playing with my cards on the table? I have no idea. Little frustrating, so even when we win, seemingly we run a little bad, and we're on to the next. For the next hand, it's actually a pretty funny one of the funniest ones I've played. I look down at pocket sevens, there's an open to $25. Sometimes you could 3-bet, but I decided to just put in the call here, and 2 other players make the call. We're going 4 ways to an alright flop. Could be better, could be worse. We've got a gutter and second pair. It's pretty decent. Checks to me, I check, and it checks around. The turn is an absolute brick, and now my good friend from 2 hands ago, the absolute nit, just leads out for $40, and I'm just like, what type of hand is this? What do you have here? What set do you have? Figuring I could probably cooler him if I hit my gutter or a 7, I decide to put in the call. Honestly, not even because I thought I was best, but like I said, to try to hit a gutter or my 7 and win a massive one from him and just hear him go, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I put in the call, and just me and him are going to a river in which he decides to check now. Pretty interesting. I decide to just take my 7s to showdown. Maybe I'm good. And he actually has the other 2 7s. It's so funny. And he's like, oh, I was wondering where my 7 was. Classic nit old man coffee comment. But yeah, that's just a funny hand. We chop it up, and yeah, we lose yet another hand to rake. Good old rake. Nice. Alright, so we lost with aces, we lost with ace king, we won with queens. Now let's try pocket kings. Beautiful hand. And even better, this is probably one of the best setups I could have for pocket kings. We are in the cutoff, and the button puts on a $25 straddle. 2 players call $25, and normally I would make it $110, $125, but with a hand this premium, you don't want to scare everyone off. I decide to only 3-bet this, or actually just standard raise, I guess, since it was a straddle, raise it up to $85, and only the player directly across the table makes the call. He is a pretty loose opponent, and he's gotten me in a couple of logs earlier. I bluffed him when he had pocket tens. I had ace king, so we're looking to get some of that money back, looking to see a good board, and it appears pretty good. Queen 10-3 with 2 diamonds out there, but my opponent just leads right out for $110. What does that mean? And in my experience, a donk lead like that is actually very weak. It's a hand that is just trying to feel out where they are. Could be a marginal top pair. Maybe he has ace queen. We block king queen. Maybe he has queen jack. I'm hoping he does not have queen 10. Or he has a diamond draw. So I decide to actually raise this one up, and I'm hoping we can maybe get it all in here on the flop, or pretty much commit him on the turn. I go pretty big in my raise here and raise it up to $310. My opponent thinks it over for quite some time and decides to fold. Definitely a very weird spot. I didn't want to just call, but I knew a raise would be very strong. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below, what you guys normally do facing a donk lead like this when you have a super strong hand. I don't know. I'm very iffy on if I should have raised or just called. Definitely not folding, but definitely let me know your thoughts down below. For this hand here, we decide to limp 3-4 suited. Yes, we limp. We rarely limp. We limp maybe 4 or 5 times a night, but decided to limp this one. We flopped a 4 and then turned 2 pair, and somebody let out, and I decided to make the call. Just me and him were headed to a river. It looks pretty good. He checks it over to me. I decide to value bet pretty big for $60, and he snap calls me and shows a higher 2 pair. Pretty gross. I value owned myself here. What am I gonna do? And that's why you don't limp or play 3-4 suited. So yeah, there you go. Alright, in this hand, we actually were on the straddle, so we are forced to play 9-4 offsuit, but we flop 2 pair, and guess who we get a freaking hand against? Our friend, the absolute nit. He leads out for $25 on this flop, which was very weird to me. I have no idea what type of hand he's representing, and you know, I always say, oh, people wouldn't bet sets, blah, blah, blah. No, he'll bet sets, he'll take people off of hands. I've seen him literally, like, there's been a raise to $25 and he'll 3-bet kings to $210 and he'll be like, oh, I didn't want to see the ace on the flop, you know, one of those guys. So I just make the call here. The turn he continues for the same sizing, and now I decide to raise this one up to $75. Let's see what you got here, sir. He puts in the call. Like I said, very concerning. The river comes a brick-ish, and he checks, and honestly, like I said, I'm just scared shitless against this guy. He's always got monsters under the bed. I am always going to play it passive against him. I check, show the 9-4, and he makes a face and decides to fold. Honestly, wouldn't even be shocked if he had aces here and just, you know, limped it and just didn't want to go crazy with it. Who knows what he's got, but, you know, we win this one. That's the last hand of the night. Let's wrap it up and head to the outro.
All right, back in the car. We only played for about 4 hours today and won $400, so $100 an hour. Can't complain. Nice to have just a nice, calm, easy session before I head out to Vegas. For these next couple days, I'll be doing a lot of tournament study. Hopefully it pays off and we can have a good time in Vegas. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed the video, and the next one is going to be Vegas content. Let's go. See you guys then.